Trauma's psychological consequences, the destruction of basic beliefs. A basic belief is something that we assume logically to be true, but actually it's true because of experience and not because of logic. For example, if I asked you a reason why an apple falls down if you let go of it, you might say because of gravity, or you might give another equally logical explanation. However, if we've had an experience that defied the laws of gravity, like we were walking along and all of a sudden we started floating off into space, which would be kind of bizarre, we would instantly question this long-held belief. But the key point is that not only would we question it, but it would freak us out. We would start to be like, well, what's going to happen now? Can we walk? What about air? And it would be extremely confusing, scary, and it would make it hard to even function. It turns out that we know that we have these basic beliefs because of an experiment that's done with infants or little babies. It's called the visual cliff experiment. And if you take a baby, like in the picture, who is less than 8 months old, they are put onto a table that has checkers for whatever reason, and they are asked to crawl across a gap that is made of glass. And usually the mom is on the other side encouraging the baby to crawl. It turns out that a baby less than 8 months old will just go over the cliff. However, when a baby becomes more than 8 months old, even if the mom is encouraging them, they will not go over the cliff. What that means is they now know about gravity. They couldn't do it intellectually, obviously, because they don't talk, but they know from their experience if they go over a step or something else that they will fall. And so they start crying because they don't know about glass, of course. So they will start crying instead of going across the imaginary cliff. And that's how we know that they know gravity exists. So it turns out we all have 3 other basic beliefs about ourselves and other people. And this is something that toddlers learn because of many, many, many innumerable experiences they have as little babies. The first thing they assume is that they're going to be safe, because our experience from the time we're very little is that if we almost slip, then we will, catch ourselves. And teenagers, if you have a teenager, or if you've ever been a teenager, you'll know this is true. They have a teenager that goes out and then comes home, and you say to your teenager, "What were you thinking?" And the teenager says, "Well, I don't know. Fred did it." And they will be convinced, logically, in their mind, that they'll be fine, because they've had the experience their entire life that nothing bad has ever happened to them. We also have a belief, once again, that we assume to be true, that people that are in positions of power, like our guardian, our parents, they are going to take care of us. And that's because we've had experiences since we were young. If we walk out in the street, a parent grabs us. If we are tired, they put us to bed. And just many, many experiences, day after day, it teaches us that people in positions of power, parents, etc., are always going to keep us safe from harm. And lastly, we believe that the world is a fun place, a benign place, that you have experiences. And once again, if you have kids, you'll know that little kids hate to go to sleep. They want to stay up, they want to play. As a parent, of course, you want them to sleep, but they just want to have a good time. They were never taught that, but they just assume what they do is meaningful, what they're doing is important, and they're born that way. So traumatic events, by definition, damage or destroy one or more of these basic beliefs. And that's really important, because you can experience a life-threatening event that doesn't destroy this belief, and therefore it's not traumatic. Traumatic event, once again, that's what they do. They damage these beliefs. So what happens? Well, it causes 2 changes. One of them is more obvious, and one of them is less obvious. So for example, if we're in a situation where we could have been killed, then we learn logically, well, that was dangerous. I'm not going to do that again. But at a deeper level, and kind of a more subtle level, well, we also learn intuitively that nothing is safe. Anywhere can be dangerous. Life is like in a minefield. You never know when something bad's going to happen. Additionally, what people learn is that you can't trust other people. It's the opposite. That other people are not going to watch out for you. And logically, we learn, well, that person took advantage of me, or that group, whatever it was, isn't safe. But additionally, in a more emotional way, we learn that we can't trust anybody. You can't be in an intimate relationship because you're just waiting for the shoe to drop. Something bad will happen. If it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. And the third thing is that we learn that some things, aren't important. We spent a long time with a certain group. It turned out that the CEO was corrupt and they take our money. Well, we learned, of course, that that person is a bad person, or a certain organization or groups are bad. But once again, in a deeper, more subtle way, we just feel like everything's meaningless. We don't try to get our goals anymore because what's the point? I always like to joke with people to say, well, if I ask you to give me $10,000 because I'm going to give you a diploma from a fake university, who would do it? Well, it has no meaning. It's just some fake piece of paper that I printed out. And so life feels the same way. It feels like, why try to reach your goals or follow your passion? Because there's no point.